Welcome to the Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast. The show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Today's story begins in a barrel. And today's show is brought to you by Daily Greens by Factor Form. A woman named Willa Hardesty is burning trash in the backyard, muttering, "This is hell." She's angry, grieving, and standing on the edge of something big. She's not famous. She's not looking for glory, but her life, hard-earned and fully lived, just might stop you in your tracks. Again, welcome to the Not Old Better Show Art of Living interview series. Our guest today is award-winning author Helen Sheehy. She's a master biographer whose previous works brought legendary actresses like Eleonora Duse and Eva Le Gallienne back to life on the page. But this time, Helen Sheehy turns her remarkable talent toward fiction and family. Her debut novel, Just Willa, follows one unforgettable woman from the wheat fields of Oklahoma through 7 decades of American history. It's inspired by Helen's own mother, a homesteader's daughter, a single mom, a bootlegging cowboy's wife, and the kind of woman history often overlooks. This isn't a tale of glitz and grandeur. This is about the hard beauty of ordinary lives. It's about surviving the Dust Bowl, losing loved ones, finding joy in a jar of canned peaches, and fighting quietly, fiercely, for your children's future. You'll hear Helen talk about walking the land her mother worked, discovering secrets in small-town newspapers, and how fiction allowed her to answer the one question biography couldn't. Who was my mother really? This is an emotional, deeply human conversation, and it's one I think many of you, especially those reflecting on your own mothers, daughters, or paths not taken, will carry with you. Please, join me listening to my conversation with author Helen Sheehy right here on the Not Old Better Show Art of Living interview series. Helen Sheehy, welcome to the program.
Oh, it's great to be here.
It's so nice to talk with you. Thank you again. We talked just momentarily, and I thank you for this wonderful book. Thank you for sending it. Congratulations on this fantastic book titled Just Willa.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I wrote it so people like you could read it.
Well, and I've read it and I've enjoyed it. I am the son of my mom is 95, and she is a writer herself. She still actually is writing poetry. She's very active at this age. So the book just it really just jumped out at me. It's a lovely discussion, but you really, this is kind of a departure for you because you spend your time, your career, your professional career, writing biographies. You chronicle the lives of famous women, and certainly Willa is the subject, a fictionalized account of your mother, more of an ordinary woman from Oklahoma. And so maybe tell us how you decided on this subject, because I'm a fan and I love it, but I'm curious.
Thank you. Well, I had written 3 biographies, and each biography takes about 7 years. So do the math. It's like a quarter century of my life, and it's an intense amount of work. And the last book I wrote was the most famous actress in the world, Eleonora Duse, who basically invented modern acting. But then something had been gnawing on me since I turned 30. When I was 36, my mother died. And I realized after I'd finished the biographies and I'd been offered to do other works, and I thought, no, I just don't want to do that. I want to try to figure out who my mother was, who she was. So it was really kind of a personal project. And I started treating it like a biography, like doing the research, going back to Freedom, Oklahoma, all those things. But then there's just too many holes. There are no archives. I really discovered that after doing interviews and the research, I needed to use my imagination and my own memory. But, Paul, biography is a spring task of bringing to life again. That's what Paul Murray
Yeah.
Kendall tells us.
Nice.
And in a way, I think that's what I wanted I couldn't bring my mother back to life, but I could try to create a character that was loosely based on her and make that character live on the page. So
Mhm.
basically, it was personal. It was just this obsession that I had to figure it out.
Oh, it's wonderful. And again, congratulations on this story because I
Thank
just
you.
can't recommend it enough to our audience. It really did relate very much personally to me too.
Mhm.
My mother's family is from Missouri, and Oklahoma was, a hop, skip, and a jump away, not too
Right.
far away. You really do chronicle a family over a couple of centuries, and it's really just this fascinating kind of
Mhm.
culmination. What is it that you hope that we saw in Willa's experience that may be
Mm.
similar to those in our audience?
Well, I think I didn't really realize until after I had written it and had read it again that basically I've written about a lost world. It's astonishing to me. We're in the 21st century now, but it feels so distant. I mean, to me, it does. I mean, in terms of values and
I agree.
people, and maybe you feel the same way.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and I think I want people to remember what it was like to live in a world where we all shared sort of common values. And, I grew up I was a tenant farmer's daughter. So we lived, and there were rich kids in my town and poor kids, and it was very small. But we never had that sense of division. We all had the same values and sort of were judged by the same standards. And I somehow think that's changed. Um, so I'll be really interested if readers feel that. And
Mhm,
because I certainly did. I didn't realize that until after I'd like, "Oh my goodness, this is so distant from what's happening right now."
mhm. Yeah, well, take us back there because through your research, which again, congratulations, because this is just such a you really get this sense that so much of it comes alive, and you talk about doing the research through local Oklahoma newspapers from the 30s and the 40s. I thought that was brilliant on your part. What did you learn? What details,
Well,
stood out that captured that period? Because it
it was
really,
so interesting,
yeah,
particularly during the 20s and the 30s. There's a little newspaper called Freedom Call, which was just flourishing then, and my actual real grandmother wrote for the newspaper. But they used to serialize novels. They serialized, Cimarron and the
oh
Ferber
wow,
Cimarron. So there were novels and poetry. So there was a connection to a larger world. It didn't have, like, daily news, but it certainly had local and community news. And it's amazing the things that were in there. In fact, I actually used one of the actual articles in the chapter where Will is in school. She's in the 8th grade, and she has to bring in a current event. And there were a couple of them. One of them was, about this judge just asked, "Who wants a boy?" There was a boy, I think he was like 9 or 10, and his parents couldn't keep him. He would have to go into an orphanage, so he was asking the community who could take this boy in. So there's almost another novel in that, like, who
yeah,
was that boy, and what
yeah,
happened to his parents, and, who stepped up in the community, or did nobody step up? Did he go to the orphanage? And another time, there was a news article about just a baby that was found dead, just with a bottle next to it, and it was just somebody had left it. They couldn't keep it, and it's just remembering how hard the times really were.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was just so tough.
Yeah, you think about the Dust Bowl and you think about some of those mice and men kind of characters and just
Mhm.
the bleak, kind of landscape. The cover of the book is
Oh,
just representative of that very period.
do you know that's one of the only photographs for lots of reasons that I have of my mother as a teenager. That's an actual picture of my mother. She's 18, and that's on the old home place on the high prairie in what they called Old Freedom, Oklahoma. And you can see it. It's just
Yeah.
there's nothing there. And that's my half-brother in the picture. I think he's 2.5 there. But doesn't she look chic? I think she just looks chic in that
She
picture.
really does. She looks well-dressed. She looks like she's not at all, exhausted from kind of being this tenant. Again, we'll put the image up and you can really see it there, but she looks
Do
wonderful,
you know
really.
what was going on in her life at that time was that she's 18, but she's a single mom, but she's living on her own in the city, in Alva, the closest town. She's got a job. She becomes friends with college girls who help her fix up her hair and pluck her eyebrows, and she buys clothes, and she's making all of her own decisions. Um, she first works for the WPA, and then she works, for a local doctor, but I don't know. I mean, it was during the Depression, but for her, I just see that time living on her own in a college town, not having anybody tell her what to do, must have been a really happy place for her.
She eventually becomes the anchor of this multi-generational family. She's a daughter. She is a single mother. You mentioned the tenant farmer's role.
Mhm.
Which part of those elements really shaped her identity and really drove her, you think?
Do you know what I think it was? That's what I was just talking about. I think it was when she left the home. She was out
Yeah.
from under the thumb of her father, who wouldn't let her go to high school. She had a job. It was her decision to leave the home. She arranged for her housing. She took care of her little boy. She earned her own money. She had her own checking account. She made new friends. She I just think that was it, and I think she was in a college town. And so she saw what that life was like, and I always think of that for Willa. Those were her college years. She wasn't going to college, but she befriended these college girls, many of them who just wanted to find a husband, but others were, they were learning, they were getting educated, they were becoming professors, and she wanted to become a teacher, and she was denied it. But I think it was this period when she had to rely on herself.
Mhm,
I think that was it.
mhm. Some of this, I'm sure, is reflective of you and who you are as a person. What was it that you learned, about your own mother, through this process of writing Just Willa?
Well, I think I dedicated my first biography to her because I said she showed me the way. I didn't think so initially when I was just wanting to get out of Oklahoma and Kansas and move east and become a writer and do all
Yeah,
these things.
yeah.
But it took me many years to realize that it was her. It was her wanting that for me in a really big way. And it took me a long time to recognize it. But here's one of the things that I thought my entire life that I was like my dad,
Mhm.
fun loving and outgoing and gregarious and loved to tell stories and just that person. But what I realized, and I'm pretty old now, I realize that's not true. And I actually asked my husband that. I said, "Okay, who do you think I'm most like, George or Wilma?" And he said, "Oh, there's no doubt. You're like your mother." And I look like her too. But literally my entire life, I thought it was my father that had shaped me. But I was wrong.
We will be right back with author Helen Sheehy. And trust me when I tell you, we have just scratched the surface. What started as a daughter's search for answers became a sweeping, deeply personal novel about memory resilience and the legacy we leave behind. But Just Willa is more than one woman's story. It's a portrait of an era, of a generation who endured more than most of us can imagine. Coming up, Helen shares what she uncovered in dusty Oklahoma archives, how the farm shaped Willa's soul, and the heartbreak of writing a life she couldn't confirm but felt in her bones. This next part of our conversation, it's tender, revealing, and unforgettable. Let's continue. I will never forget the first time I tried a greens supplement. Chalky, grassy. And honestly, I gave up on the idea right then and there. But that all changed when I tried Daily Greens by Factor Form, our sponsor today. When was the last time you had a meal that was both healthy and delicious? It made you feel good, right? Have you ever had that same feeling with a supplement? You can now with Factor Form. Daily Greens by Factor Form is a greens powder you'll actually look forward to drinking. Just one scoop gives you 100% of your daily nutrients. No mega doses, no added sugar, just real ingredients like kale and spinach that don't taste like kale and spinach. It's citrusy, clean, smooth, and yes, it actually tastes good. I've tried the bad ones. And some of the bad ones are like chewing on lawn or licking sidewalk. Daily Greens by Factor Form is the exact opposite. It's refreshing and light, easy to mix, and easier to enjoy. It's developed by the same expert team behind Factor Meals, so it's made to fit perfectly into your day, whether you're enjoying Factor's prepared meals or just looking to start your morning with something that makes you feel good. I've personally felt the difference. More energy, less bloating, and better focus within just a few days. We've talked about this subject on the show before, but if you're on a GLP-1 or you're managing a reduced appetite, this is exactly the kind of gentle, nutrient-dense support your body needs. Real greens, balanced fiber, and gut-friendly adaptogens. Start your day right with Daily Greens by Factor Form at factor75.com/NOB to get 40% off plus free shipping on your first order. All this will be in our show notes, but remember that's factor75.com/NOB for 40% off plus free shipping. Factor75.com/NOB. And now let's get back to our interview with Helen Sheehy. Author Helen Sheehy is our guest today on the program. Helen has just written the wonderful book. Just Willa has written wonderful, award-winning biographies too. We will have links so that our audience can find out more information about Helen Sheehy and her wonderful book, Just Willa. Please check it out. It is just fantastic. I'm not the only one saying this. I found this great review. I want to read it for our audience because I just think it's so apropos of what you've done, and it's from someone very special. So the review is as clear as a prairie morning, unsparing and true. Just Willa is deeply moving yet unsentimental in the great American vein. I loved it. Richard Thomas wrote that, and I was very impressed that that recommendation comes from someone like him, someone that we all love, and someone who knows the prairie well, and certainly played that role in many instances. Again, congratulations,
Oh,
Helen
thank
Sheehy.
you.
This is
Do
just
you know
fantastic.
he's just going out on a national tour this fall of Mark Twain. He's gonna be the
That'll be
first one after
fascinating.
Cal Holbrook to do, he did Atticus Finch, and now
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
do Mark Twain. I can't wait to see that.
That will be wonderful. That'll be wonderful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, I wanna talk to you a little bit about a more philosophical question, perhaps in relation to the book. You've said that people yearn for what they don't have. Many younger generations, and as an older person myself, I kind of have seen this. They yearn for the simplicity and the connection that comes from rural life. I've seen this with my own children. What lessons from Willa's world apply to kind of this idea of modern life, especially for those families, those young people who were looking to reconnect?
Well, I think that what I wanted to do with Just Willa is not to romanticize farm life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing about life is that you don't really realize it while you're living it. It I think Thornton Wilder might have said that in our town, that it's later that you realize those lessons. So I guess one of the things you should take is that pay attention to the life you're living right now. Look around you, pay attention to that. Um, and it's good to yearn for the other. I think that's great. I mean, to want something different, to do that the way Willa did, the way certain characters in the book did. But also, I think those early those early experiences are what shape you. They're what ground you and give you your values. And I am so happy that I grew up on a farm and that I lived that life and learned all those lessons, but I can tell you that I'm really, really happy that I'm not living that life now because
A hard life.
it's really hard.
Mhm.
It's just unrelenting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a topsy-turvy world, without the stresses that come from the vagaries of living, in an agricultural, community and farming and all that goes along with that economy. So many in our audience have faced personal loss, yet they're experiencing some resilience. Willa, certainly, her life certainly was marked by that. What what do you think your book says, especially to women, about the idea of managing grief and this idea of resilience, keeping going, perseverance?
Well, I think for women like Willa and for many women who have this unbearable loss,
Hmm.
but yet you also have other children. And so they dig really deep and find a way to keep on. And I actually wrote about that. There's a chapter after she suffers just an incredibly devastating loss where she sort of goes through that and kind of figures it out of what she's going to do. And a lot of it is just you just have to live. You have to find a way to keep on, to live. I mean, it's survival, um, for her children, and she as you said earlier, she's sort of the anchor for this family, and without her, I think they probably would have fallen apart.
Author Helen Sheehy is our guest today, written the wonderful book, Just Willa. Let's talk about the title for just a second because it's very powerful. And it's perhaps a loaded title too. It's beautiful. I just found that it spoke volumes. What does it say to you now after finishing the book and sharing it with the world? Just Willa.
Well, I think in the beginning, it with the title, the layers of it were it's just Willa. It's just this ordinary human being, this ordinary woman. Uh, but it's also just Willa. It's just her. It's this important person. Um, I think I actually believe that every life has value, that there's a story, everybody has a story, every person has worth. And for me, just personally as a writer writing about famous women, I really worried, would anybody care just about this ordinary woman? But I actually, when I was writing her, I didn't think she was ordinary. I thought she was unique and wonderful, as all of us are
Yeah.
in our own ways. But so I think that's what it is. I'm so glad you like it because the original title was Willa.
Yeah.
This
Beautiful
much
too.
better. Thank you.
Yeah, Just Willa is lovely. I want to talk to you about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, near and dear to yours too. Libraries. They
Oh,
are sacred. Public libraries are sacred spaces, and many in our audience are readers. I'm a reader. I love to do it, but still, many are rediscovering books, kind of later in life. What role do you think public libraries play in preserving these stories, like Willa's?
oh, I think it's so important.
Mm.
It belongs to every American. A public library. It's like public education. I'm a great believer in public education, and it's what unites it. Everybody goes into the library. I go into my library at Hamden, Connecticut.
Uh-huh.
All kinds of people are there, and it's
Yeah.
just a sanctuary, and librarians are so wonderful. They're there to help you and find you the book and you can take out, like, 15 books of the series that you wanna read, and
Mm.
I love it, and also you can rent movies there. Now not rent movies, but you can check out movies and
Yeah.
do all kinds of things and use the computer, and it's like a community center.
Oh,
I just think they're special.
I do too. I think the idea of a quiet space is something that we are in need of
Yes.
these days and in these times. And I think we're in need of good books. And Just Willa is absolutely that. Helen Sheehy is our guest today, author of Just Willa. Again, we'll have links so that our audience can find out more about it. and about Helen Sheehy's other works. Let's talk a little bit about some of the real intimate truths that you've uncovered in the novel and brought to life. If Willa could sit with our audience today,
Oh.
many of whom, including me, are grandparents, we're caregivers. Certainly, that's what I'm doing. But even acting as a historian of my own family for genealogy purposes, what do you think that Willa would most like to tell us?
Well, that's interesting. I think one of the catchphrases that she uses in the book is "Get with it." It's an
Uh,
old Bob Wills song, which she loved because she loved to dance. I think Willa would say, and even I think she would tell us to do things, to plant flowers, to work, to cook, to find joy with your family, to I don't think one of the things I was taught growing up is you don't feel sorry for yourself ever. No whining, don't feeling sorry for yourself. Be kind, be clean, work hard, all those things. And I think that's what she would say to people. Just do something. Get out and do something. Because she was a worker and a really hard worker.
Well, this has just been a joy talking to you. You're so enthusiastic about this subject, and it just pours out of the pages of the book. I hope you'll come back. Some of these other ideas that you've surfaced with us in terms of reading the newspapers. I hope you'll come back
Oh,
and
I
talk
would
to us.
love to.
I just have a couple of. I want to. I hope you're game. And maybe a good sport in answering a couple of rapid fire questions about the book. Okay.
I was trained in improvisational theater, so
Awesome. Okay,
I'm
well,
ready.
so here's your first one. Do you still have your childhood rodeo queen belt?
Yes,
Okay.
I still wear it.
Good, that's
It's
good.
my teenage rodeo queen belt, but
Teenage.
yes.
What book changed your life as a young person?
Oh my goodness, the dictionary.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'll tell you why. Because I couldn't read yet, but my brother and I and my older sister, and I think maybe my mother might have gotten this from run room school. We used to do dictionary drills.
Huh,
And we would have to look up words, and then we would have dictionary races. So I think
that's good.
it actually was the dictionary because I absolutely love words. My sister and I got into a discussion once about the difference between shirts and blouses.
Perfect.
So anyway, I would
Yeah,
say the dictionary.
that's great. That's great. Willa or Jake? Who was easier to write?
Jake.
Yeah, makes sense. Willa's complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jake, not so much. He's kind of an open book, except he has some secrets, and you wish he wouldn't made some of those decisions, but, he's just being Jake.
He's being Jake. So you mentioned a song, but I want to ask you, what do you think Willa's favorite song would be?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you that one that she sang all the time, and she would put our names in it, was that, I don't know if you know that old traditional song, Billy Boy, can she make a cherry pie, charming Billy?
Oh, of course.
That song.
Yes. Oh, of
She would
course.
sing that all the time. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm going to say that because that's the one I remember the most from when I was tiny. She would sing that. And there's that cherry pie reference, and she was a great cook. So,
Well, Helen Sheehy, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. Again, congratulations on Just Willa. We will have links in our show notes today so that our audience can find out more about Helen Sheehy and her fantastic writing, including books like Just Willa. Please check it out. And please, Helen Sheehy, come back and join us. I'm just going to say it again and just really pound this home. Please come back.
I would love to.
Great. Well, thank you. Have a great rest of your day. We appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paul. Take care.
That was author Helen Sheehy sharing the heart and history behind her beautifully crafted novel, Just Willa. Today's show has been brought to you by Daily Greens by Factor Form. Check out our sponsor information for more help and great advice. Please support our sponsors. Daily Greens by Factor Form. Willa's story may be fiction, but her strength, her choices, her determination will feel familiar to anyone who's known hardship. and found a way through it. Whether you grew up in a small town, raised a family on little more than grit and faith, or are simply someone who believes every life has meaning, just Willa will speak to you. To hear today's full conversation and explore our archives of stories that honor dignity, resilience, and the art of aging well, visit us at notold-better.com. You can follow us on Twitter at notoldbetter, on Instagram at notoldbetter, for news on upcoming episodes, guests, and special series. All of that is there on social media. This episode was a production of NOBS Studios. I'm Paul Vogelsang. Thank you for listening, and please join me again next time for more stories that matter. In the meantime, be well, be safe. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show on radio and podcast. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.